America, land of the free, home of the brave, and birthplace of a voting system that's more complicated than it needs to be. But hey, who doesn't love a good puzzle? Think of this as the instruction manual you never got for one of the most important things you can do in a democracy, because here's the deal, voting is kind of a big deal. It's how we choose the people who make decisions that affect our lives, from the price of gas to, well, whether we can still afford to drive. So strap in as we break down this glorious mess we call the US voting system. Think of it like this: if democracy is a car, voting is the engine. And just like any engine, it needs a tune-up every now and then. So let's pop the hood and see what makes this thing tick, or in some cases sputter. First up, the elephant in the room, or should we say the donkey and the elephant in the room, the Electoral College. This unique system has been a cornerstone of American presidential elections since the founding of the country. This is the system we use to elect the president. And it's about as straightforward as a game of Twister played on a unicycle. It's a complex dance of strategy and numbers that can leave many scratching their heads. Instead of just counting up all the votes nationwide, each state gets a certain number of electoral votes based on its population. This means states with larger populations have more influence, but even smaller states have a say. Think of it like bonus points in a video game. Each state is like a level where candidates can score points, and the more populous the state, the higher the points. The candidate who wins the most votes in a state usually gets all of that state's electoral votes. This winner-takes-all approach can lead to some interesting strategies and unexpected outcomes. The first candidate to reach 270 electoral votes wins the presidency. This magic number is more than half of the total 538 electoral votes available. Sounds simple enough, right? Well, not so fast. The Electoral College system has its quirks and complexities that can make it anything but straightforward. This system can lead to a candidate winning the popular vote, meaning the most individual votes nationwide, but losing the election, which has happened a few times in US history. This discrepancy has sparked debates and discussions about the fairness and effectiveness of the Electoral College. Talk about a plot twist. The Electoral College continues to be a topic of intense debate and fascination, shaping the way we choose our leaders in ways that are both predictable and surprising. Now, you might be thinking, this voting thing sounds awesome. Where do I sign up? Well, hold your horses, eager beaver. To vote in the US, you need to be a US citizen. Sorry, no voting for your pet goldfish. At least 18 years old, unless you're some kind of time-traveling genius. Registered to vote in your state. More on that later. Sounds simple, right? Well, it gets a little trickier. Some states have additional requirements, like showing ID at the polls or having no felony convictions. There's a lot of debate about these rules, with some arguing they make it harder for certain groups, like minorities and low-income folks, to vote. Because let's be real, voting is a fundamental right, not a privilege reserved for a select few. The easier we make it for eligible citizens to vote, the stronger our democracy becomes. Now that we know who can vote, let's talk about what we're voting for. Voting is a fundamental part of our democracy, and understanding the different types of elections can help us make more informed decisions. There are different types of elections in the US, each with their own special flavour and significance. These elections range from local to national levels, each playing a crucial role in shaping our government and society. Primaries. Think of these as the pre-game show before the main event. Primaries are the battleground where political parties select their champions for the general election. Primaries are held by political parties to choose their candidates for the general election. This is where the field of candidates is narrowed down, and the party's official nominee is chosen. It's like a political battle royale. But instead of weapons, they use yard signs, attack ads, and endless campaign events. Candidates work tirelessly to win over voters and secure their party's nomination. General election. This is the big kahuna, the main event, the Super Bowl of elections. The general election is where the final decision is made, and the stakes couldn't be higher. Held on the first Tuesday after the first Monday in November, because why make it easy to remember? The general election is a pivotal moment in our democratic process. This is where we choose our president, members of Congress, and other elected officials. The outcome of the general election can shape the direction of our country for years to come. Local elections, don't sleep on these. Local elections might not get as much attention as the general election, but they are incredibly important. Local elections are where we choose mayors, city council members, school board members, and other folks who make decisions that directly impact our communities. These officials have a direct hand in shaping our daily lives. Think potholes, schools, and whether or not that empty lot down the street becomes a dog park. The outcomes of local elections can have immediate and tangible effects on our neighbourhoods. No matter what type of election it is, remember, every vote counts. Your participation in the electoral process is crucial, and your vote can make a difference. Unless, of course, you're voting for the wrong candidate. Just kidding, and kind of. So, get out there, do your research, and make your voice heard. Democracy thrives when we all participate. So, you're registered to vote, you know what's on the ballot, and you're ready to exercise your democratic right. But wait, there's more to it than just showing up on election day. But how do you actually do it? Fear not, intrepid voter. Here's a quick rundown. First, registration. This is your first step in making sure your voice is heard. Before you can rock the vote, you've got to be in the system. This means filling out a voter registration form and submitting it to the appropriate authorities. You can register to vote online, by mail, or in person at designated locations. Each method has its own set of instructions, so make sure you follow them carefully. Or in person at designated locations. Community centres, DMV offices, and even some libraries offer voter registration services. Pro tip, check your registration status before every election just to be safe. You don't want any surprises on election day. Next, voting methods. Gone are the days of chiselling your vote onto a stone tablet, although that would be pretty metal. Today, we have multiple convenient options. Nowadays, you can vote in person on election day, early in person, or by mail. Each method has its own set of rules and deadlines. Each state has its own rules and deadlines, so make sure you know the drill before you head to the polls or the mailbox. Check your state's election website for specific information. At the polls, show up, bring any required identification, and be prepared to wait in line. It's all part of the process. Show your ID, if required, and confirm your registration with the poll workers. They are there to help you, and get ready to mark your ballot. Take your time to read each section carefully. Whether you're using a touchscreen machine, a paper ballot, or another method, make sure your choices are clear and accurate, or a carrier pigeon. Okay, maybe not that last one. The important thing is that your vote is counted. Make sure you understand the instructions before you cast your vote. If you're unsure about anything, don't hesitate to ask for help. Remember, voting is your chance to make your voice heard. So do your research, choose wisely, and be informed about the candidates and issues on the ballot. And vote like your democracy depends on it, because it kind of does. Every vote counts, and your participation is crucial in shaping the future of your community and country. Engage with your community, discuss the issues that matter, and encourage others to vote. Democracy thrives when everyone gets involved. Share information on social media, talk to your friends and family, and make sure everyone knows how important it is to vote. Together, we can make a difference. So, get out there, cast your vote, and be a part of the democratic process. Because democracy isn't a spectator sport, it's a team effort. The votes are cast, the polls are closed, and now it's time for the nail-biting, coffee-fueled frenzy of counting the votes. This is where things get a little complicated and sometimes downright bizarre. Depending on the state and the type of election, votes might be counted by hand, by machine, or by a combination of both. There are also rules about recounts, absentee ballots, and all sorts of other things that can make your head spin. And let's not forget about the occasional hanging chad, butterfly ballot, or other electoral oddities that make us wonder if we accidentally wandered into a political thriller. But hey, that's democracy for you. Messy, unpredictable, and occasionally stranger than fiction. The internet is a wonderful place, full of cat videos, memes, and misinformation about voting. That's right, folks. There are a lot of myths and misconceptions floating around out there about the voting process, And it's time to set the record straight. Myth, my vote doesn't matter. Wrong, every vote counts, especially in close elections. Myth, I can only vote on election day. Nope, many states offer early voting and vote by mail options. Myth, the election is rigged. While there have been isolated instances of voter fraud, it's extremely rare and does not affect the outcome of elections. Don't let these myths stop you from exercising your right to vote. Get informed, stay vigilant, and don't believe everything you read on the internet, unless it's on our website, of course. Congratulations, you made it to the end of our crash course on the US voting system. You now know more about how elections work than most people, and you're equipped to navigate the wonderful world of democracy. But remember, knowledge is power only if you use it. So get out there and vote. Register your friends and family, volunteer at a polling place, make your voice heard, because in a democracy, your vote is your superpower. And who knows, maybe one day we'll even get around to simplifying the system. Until then, happy voting.